Yo, welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at Kyle Filipowski, and just a really interesting player to watch and also to kind of dive into some of the stats. If you're new here, this is Miscast in the NBA series where we're trying to identify players who last year were used in roles that might not be the best role for them. So I built a dashboard which is basically identifying what role the player is playing offensively. So for Filipowski, you see he was used as a short role connector. These are people who are in the short role a lot, like think of your Draymonds, Josh Hart was in that role, players like that. And then this is how good they are at each role, right? This isn't a perfect metric by any stretch, but good directionally allows us to go deeper and start breaking down some film. So for Filipowski, also freshly minted Summer League MVP. Not that that means a lot, but again, just interesting to kind of reaffirm some of these things that I'm seeing. And it's a reason why I'm more excited for him going into next year, and winning Summer League MVP and playing well there is just like another signal, not an end all be all. But you can see that he was used as a short role connector last year, and he was pretty good in that role, 75th percentile, but in the 83rd percentile as a primary creator and 77th percentile as your focal big. Primary creators, these are like your Shea, your Jalen Brunsons. Focal bigs, these are like your Jokic's, your Sabonis's. So do I think Filipowski is on that level? Not really, right? Of course he's not Shea, but do I think there are good indicators and good data points to tell us that maybe he could be used in an expanded role and be pretty good in that role? So one of my favorite players. One thing to notice about this Jazz team is Keontae George is your primary creator. So the Jazz are running this experiment of seeing whether Keontae George could be that one, could be that primary creator. He wasn't the best at it, right? 66th percentile. But this is where like I think it's interesting to kind of like shift how you're building your team. Like I'd rather you kind of start running offense through Filipowski and then seeing if Keontae George is a lot better playing off of Filipowski versus Keontae George as the primary engine and then everyone playing around it, right? So just like things to consider for the Jazz. I'm interested to see how they look next year with Ace Bailey and also with Walter Clayton. But let's take a deeper look at some of these numbers. So for Flip, you can see that his minutes went up that the year, really typical for a rookie. Everything basically trended up, right? Mainly because he got more minutes. 50% field goal, 35% from three. Pretty solid numbers of shooting big. This has to go up. 65% is pretty bad. Not a ton of blocks from your center, which is not great, but he's not like the biggest vertical rim protecting big. And then here's some of his advanced stats. Assist percentage is the one I'm the most curious about. I think he's a really good passer. A little turnover prone, but pretty good passer. If you can see for short roll connectors, he's in the 81st percentile. So like a good passer for a big. Good rebounder. 91st percentile defensive rebound. 78 for offensive rebound. Overall around 90th percentile. So good rebounder as well. And then pretty solid efficiency metrics. Right? So this is going to mirror some of your minutes stuff. All his usage stats went up as the season went up. I just love to see him use them, be the focus of the offense, right? Because like if you're a team like the Jazz, you just want to figure out what pieces you have. And I think like you're getting closer to figure out that Keontae George might not be that piece. But maybe playing through Filipowski, that's a better piece to kind of like start building around, right? So just something interesting. I think like more touches should be funneled that way. And I'm looking at some of his play types. This is why he looks good as a primary creator. One of the best pick and roll ball handlers. We saw this with Durant as well, right? Like you're going to see some noise, especially when the sample size is small. So like barely used as a pick and roll ball handler. But when he's used as a pick and roll ball handler, like one of the best, right? In my algorithm, I'm not taking into account usage at all, right? Usage determines the role, but then how well you do in that role is just purely based off efficiency. That's why he's like one of the better primary creators. This isn't necessarily true just because small sample size, but it's a good indicator, right? So we're going to break down some film there. I'd love to see his post-up efficiency be a little bit better. We're going to see a lot of plays where he's good at getting position just because he knows when to roll and how to roll into people. But this would be a little, and then like establish a mismatch to get a post-up. So it'll be good to see this a little higher. Pick and roll roll man has to be a little higher as well, right? And then in terms of shot distribution, really, really good in the paint. And then pretty just like around 50 percentile from every area of the three, right? But like a good paint player as well. So that's kind of what the stats look like. I think he's a really interesting player as well. Like this is just kind of a mold of player that I really like. Like similarly with Durant, like these playmaking fives that are good at passing and able to like make reads and flip the court. So like go from one side of the court to the other side of the court really quickly. just good decision makers. And I think these are the type of players that are really critical to unlocking offenses. So yeah, that's what the data says. Let's get into the film. So let's start with what he is used as, right? He's used as a short roller. So here you're just going to see the short roll happen, right? So like quick release and then just opening yourself up for this pocket pass. So not rolling too hard, but creating this pocket for your point guard to get you the ball. Gets in the short roll and then takes a dribble, draws the defense in, right? So you see Trey Murphy coming over to help and then finds the open man to Juzong in the corner for an open three, right? So good playmaking, good decision making, good in the short roll. Here you're going to see it again. Handoff hub, right? He's going to go straight into handoff and then rescreen. So immediately rescreen, same thing, just find himself in the short roll. Since everyone offensively rotated already from the first action not happening, there's a second side action, right? Like the first action got stopped. Now you're into your second action. Because it's going quickly, you're clearing out the entire left side, right? The strong side where this pick and roll is happening now, there's no one in the corner, called an empty corner pick and roll. But that's happening because you're moving everyone to the weak side already from your first action, right? So like help is harder to come by. So here Flip gets into the short roll, finds another pass, great pass again, and then missed layup, gets the offensive rebound and finishes. Right, so like really good in the short roll. Here let's do some transition stuff, so just rim running. You guys see him absolutely outrun Klingon, 3rd overall pick by the way, and then just finishing, right? I like Flip just straight out more than Klingon. Here, same thing. You're in transition, just driving, finishing. I think he's better as like an offensive engine. Here, you're gonna see great rebound over Kamara, right? So here, Kamara has position. Ball's gonna go over the top. Strong rebound, good defensive rebounder again, running the break, and then like jump pass around the defender. It's not an easy pass. Maybe not like my favorite pass, and then sells the layup. Like you don't know. I don't know if I want him jumping necessarily, but like he looks natural bringing the ball up, right? He looks natural as a playmaker. Here, you're gonna see a rip screen. So there's a back screen, and then you're gonna see Micah Potter just kind of go take the screen, and then because of that, you're gonna see Walker have to help out, right? Because Walker's helping out, and then be Shaden Sharp's chasing wide open three. This is why if you have a shooting big, they're so dangerous. You can just do so much, right? There's a Flip is playing center. When he's playing center, now you're in 5 out. The paint's basically wide open. The only way you get help defense is if Izmesi comes down and help, right? But if he's dropping down to help, it leaves Flip so wide open for this three as long as he can hit it. You got 35% three-point shooter. It's pretty dangerous. And just being able to play 5 out with Flip, I think is going to be a huge advantage as well. And then let's get into some of these like focal big sets. And we talk about them a lot in like previous videos, right? But this is like your delay set where your big is playing at the top of the key, just surveying everything. A lot of times you get split actions on either side. Split action is just like your 2 wings or your 2 guards screening for each other. Here you don't need to run any play because Trey Murphy's just lost, which is just an open layup. Just got to make this pass. Easy pass. And then finishes. Right, but that's like a typical delay set with focal bigs. You have them in the top of the key, 2 split actions on either side. Here, same thing, delay set, but he's just going to drive here. It's a good drive. Draws a foul on Klingon. He had 30 this game, just really effective this game. Right, bringing the ball up. Handoff, fake handoff, rejects it. And then quickly goes into the drive. Just great cross, good push cross. Beats Klingon for the layup, for the dunk. So it brings the ball up again, right? Like, this is just comfortability. Like, he looks comfortable to me. Just bring the ball up. And look how quickly he goes to action. Nope. Don't want that. Don't want this handoff either. I'm going to turn, go back here. Fake that pass, backdoor cut. Right? So, like, having your center being able to go through multiple actions. Springer misses this, but, like, having your center be able to go through multiple actions and do it very quickly really puts a lot of pressure on your defense, right? So, like, I just like the way he moves, how fast he rejects actions, how fast he goes to his next action. So this is your split action, playing out of the elbow, another like super common thing focal bigs play out of. Split action is just having Collier go like screen for Bryce, and then you can have multiple things happen, right? You can actually set the screen, or you can slip the screen. You're gonna see him slip the screen here. Great backdoor cut, and then good pass from Flip, right? Here's a sideline out of bounds play. This is called an Iverson cut. So you're gonna see Collier just come across the court, get 2 screens, first by flip, second by sensible. Iverson cut here, immediately into a post-up, right? So entry goes to flip at the elbow, and then you're kind of letting flip play make out of the elbow, right? You're focal big, you're running your offense through flip. But this play's already set up so that Bryce in this moment is going to go set a screen on Trey Murphy, right? He's going to bring Zion up, and because you're clearing Zion out from this play, you're going to see Collier get an open post-up against McCollum, where flip is just going to enter the ball, right? So look, because this top action is happening with Sensible, then you can seal McCollum here in the paint. No help is coming, and then you're just getting a post up on CJ McCollum, right? Good post entry from flip, and then draws the foul. So this is a really cool play. This is a really awesome play too. Everyone's sprinting to the side where the ball is being inbounded, right? So you're clearing out the weak side. So no one's on the bottom of your screen. Then you're gonna see a flare screen set by Keontae George. So inbound skip pass over the top to flip. Right? This is just a great play design. So again, because you had 2 players run hard to the closer sideline, your entire strong side now is clear. Right? So here, Keontae George comes to get this handoff, and there's just a fake handoff by flip. Right? So everyone thinks Keontae's getting the ball back. Because you're playing against a switching defense too, the Blazers are gonna want to switch this handoff. So you can see Thibault just inch over because he's anticipating this handoff, which allows Flip to fake him out, right? Thibault's inching over because there's a switch-heavy defense. And just being able to capitalize on that, have that fake and drive it, great play design, great execution to tie the game too, right? And then this is I really like this play that they do, and I think they can run this more to make Flip more part of this focal big role. They skip the ball over the top to Flip, and a lot of times there's an easy pass because your center is going to be playing off, occupied by the 2 guards at the top of the key, right? So Sexton and Keontae. Instead, you just flip it over to flip and let multiple actions happen. So you can see for Sexton, and we're gonna show this play later too, but Sexton's going for a split action at the top of your screen, and then you can also go straight into this handoff with Bryce, right? So this play is gonna go straight into handoff, and then because Flip is also a shooter, Klingon hesitates for a second. That hesitation creates that wide open layup. Right, so just having that shot is dangerous in itself. Same play, you're gonna see the flip, different action, or you're gonna see the skip, and then different action coming off of it. So skip pass, instead of going to handoff, you saw him look and then immediately go to the secondary action. So decides not to do the handoff, wants to go into this handoff, decides not to do this handoff, but does set this rub screen, and then Sexton's gonna get a step because of that screen by flip, and then great pass by flip. Right, around Klingon, good pass, wide open layup. So that's already 2 actions off the same play. Here's a third action we talked about in the first play, but you can go straight into a split action, right? So that's a skip pass. Bryce is gonna go into the split action with Collier, and then rejects the split action, just slips it, wide open paint, great pass by flip. It's the same pass, right? It's kind of that around your defender, good pass, good finish. Right, so you trust his playmaking. He does force things a little bit. This is the same pass he tries to make around the defender. You're gonna see Sexton kind of cutting here, and then just forces the issue a little bit, right? But he's a rookie. You clean these things up as you get more experience, as you play more basketball. You're gonna see him force this one again. There's the same play. There's the Iverson cut. So watch this. This is gonna be really interesting. So after this Iverson cut happens of Keontae George, right? It's the same sideline out of bounds play. The difference between the first play that worked perfectly and this play is Bryce Sensible does not come up to set the screen after the Iverson cut. So Iverson cut finishes. In the last play, at this point, Bryce was already coming up to set a screen on Juzang, right? But because Bryce is not coming up to set the screen here, you're not occupying the defender. So Shaedon Sharpe here is able to sit in the paint because Bryce isn't in motion. Bryce isn't coming up to set a screen, and he's able to pick this off, right? Also, not a great pass by Flip. But you can see why the first play worked and this didn't. Is because now you have a help defender that isn't occupied, that is able to just kind of be in the lane and get into the passing lane. Right? So just small nuances creating differences in how a play works. So execution matters also, even if you have a great play draw, right? And then this is what I kind of mentioned in the post-ups, why I want Flip to be a little better as a post-up player, is you can get a lot of these mismatches. After this screen, you're going to get the switch with Zion on Keontae, and then you're gonna have Hawkins on Flip. This should go to the corner immediately to Flip. Like that to me is a much better matchup than Keontae isolating Zion. Right? So like just choices of where you want to attack. Right? Like look at the steal by Flip on Hawkins. Just get it to the corner, throw it over the top to Flip. This should be an easy bucket. Instead, you're gonna choose to attack this isolation, which isn't really a mismatch, right? Like Zion on Keontae George. I don't know if I call that a mismatch. And you get a turnover. So just being like a little bit more aware that you can get these post-ups pretty easily. And then Flip also has to take a step as a post-up offensive player. But everything like points to him being able to take a step. Like strong player, strong finisher, good in the paint, able to take advantage of small defenders. Like I would expect him to be better in that department if he becomes like a bigger part of the offense as well. Right? And then lastly, wanting to take a look at some of these pick and roll plays, just because we saw that he was so good at these plays but on such low volume. Just really interesting to see, like, can you do more of it? We've talked about this in the Durant video. One of the benefits of these like inverted pick and rolls, inverted being like the guard is now setting the screen, is you're dragging the center so far out of the paint, right? So flipping the ball handler here, Klingon is guarding him, there's really no rim protection. So once you get the screen, it's pretty much easy. Like no one's able to stop him. So just interested to see if they run more of this. He looks really comfortable dribbling to me. Like, here's a great play to show it. So, Klingon is not guarding Flip, right? Because Kessler's in. So, here's, like, point forward, I would say. Right? But here's the screen by Kessler. So, now he's attacking drop, basically. He's attacking Edie, who's in drop. Now, look at this move he puts on. So, navigates the screen, cross, and then spin. Like, that's awesome. And if you want to run more plays for him as a pick and roll ball handler, like, I'm really interested to see how that looks as well. But I just think like offensively, he has so many different skills, and I'm interested to see like just a little bit more of the offense going through him, especially when like the Jazz have so many opportunities to just like try things out and develop some of these players and see what they have, right? And I don't think like Keontae George is the answer to like the experiment they've been trying to do with him. So that's offensively. Let's look at some of the defensive stuff. Like the Jazz like to switch a lot too. So here, like it's pretty much auto switching. Gets out on Shaedon Sharpe, good contest. He's pretty quick on his feet. He's not like the quickest. Like he's not gonna be stopping great ISO players. I like watching him against Ant. I did it with Aldama, so thought just good comp. But you're gonna see he moves like a lot better than Aldama, right? Just like a lot better quickness laterally. He stays with Ant. Ant gets that up. The next play you're gonna see the same thing. Like Flip is just keeping up. He's not really getting. He looks a lot better laterally, right? So here's an auto switch. Switches out, presses up on Ant. He's gonna get help, but still like stays in front of Ant, right? Just really good at moving his feet, quick feet, and then also a good rebounder, good defensive rebounder, which goes a long way, right? Defensively, and then a good communicator as well. Like watch, he's active. You can see him pointing, telling people where to be, and then also like the switching ability and knowing when to switch. So auto switch here. Now you have Sexton on Klingon. Here's a Chicago action, right? That's a down screen into this handoff. So then they're going to switch again, and then Sexton's going to switch all the way through, right? But now, because you switched all the way through, you can see that Flip's already getting ready to switch back onto Klingon, right? Here, he points, communicates, and then switches back. This is called a scram switch. So that negates that entire advantage with Juzan. Right now, like you're back to like your original matchups, except like your guards are switched, which you're way more comfortable with. So just like being vocal, being aware of where you're supposed to be, being able to like command the defense and like tell your teammates like, hey, let's switch here to get back to original matchups. Like that's awesome stuff, right? Active hands, gets a steal. Same thing here, communicates. That's a switch. Very switch happy defense. They're gonna switch again. Bryce communicates here, switches again, and then switches back, right? You see that Filipowski again points to Keontae George, like, hey, it's fine. I'll take Klingon here. Go back. Everyone's even. So just good team defense. Then like Bryce gets cooked in isolation, one-on-one. But like in terms of communication and recovery, like really good stuff. I think like Flip has that. And then here's just some of his blocks, right? Not like an elite rim protector by any stretch, but like quick enough to stay in front of Kamara, quick enough to block him. He jumps a little bit, like Flip's a little jumpy for me, but here you guys see him jump on no pump fake, right? Just bobbles the ball here, and he jumps, recovers, and gets the block. Like a little jumpy for me. He's not the best in the post against like real post-up centers. Here's him against Zubac. You can see like just not really strong enough to do that. But in terms of like, if you're creating a really switchable defense with Flip as your 5, it works. You're not going to be like a dominant defensive player against like these big body post-up players like Zubac or Sengun. But against like a more modern offense where there's more ball movement, more player movement, and dominated by like a heavy ISO guard player, I think Flip can be a really good defender in that sort of scheme. Just not against like some of these post-up bigs, right? But also he'll get better against these post-up bigs as he gets stronger, as he develops, as he's in the NBA for more years as well, right? So I think he's a good defender. If you haven't been following the series, after I look at the film, I like to go to dunks and the 3, look at their defensive EPM metric. It's like a catch-all metric for, they do overall and defensive and offensive. But I think just like good directionally of like how a player is defensively. Not perfect by any stretch, but like a good indicator. I'm going to guess Flip's in like the 60th percentile. I think he's a good defender. But yeah, let me check and I'll be back to wrap this up. So he's pretty bad by dunks to the 3 metrics. So he's like in the 10th percentile, one of the worst defenders in the NBA. I don't think he's that bad. I think like there's a lot worse than he is. We'll see if he makes a leap or not next year in terms of this particular metric, but I personally think he's a lot better defensively than what that might indicate. Anyways, that's Filipowski. Really excited for him next season to see how he looks.